All right. Well, welcome to our session called Deepening the Learning, where I just want to focus on, I created a bunch of content to put in here today. And I just, upon reflection, we're going to do that content later in our time together in October. Happy October. But today our focus is going to be on deepening. So we're going to kind of go back a bit and continue on the discovery session, deepen, and really see what it looks like to partner with and bring the divine into. Yeah, I hear you, Samara. Great. I totally get it. And partner with the divine, and you can do it all without being here. I hear you. I really wanted to be in person. By the way, my next door neighbor's 14-year-old daughter is having her birthday party, which is a pool party today. So she just came to tell us last night. So it's comical that it was not supposed to be here. And I am disappointed because I wanted hugs and to be in person. But yeah, so we have a 14-year-old birthday party. The guests are going to come around 11. So we're meant to be on Zoom. And if any of you want to come live for your hour sessions, you are absolutely welcome to do that. Just let me know. Okay. So if you want to be in person, I welcome that. Let's start with the centering prayer today. Let's just close our eyelids. I'm so happy to be here. Take a deep breath in, exhaling, just letting that all go. Just feel your body relax. Another deep breath in, filling your lungs, exhaling, letting go of everything that came before this moment, right here, right now. And Mother, Father, God, Lord God of all creation, we are so grateful for this time to come together, to co-create, to consciously invite you into this space, not only today, but all the spaces that we will create with each of us, with these soul-guided clients who find us, who seek us out. We invite you into every session moving forward in addition to today. And today we ask you to lift up, clear out, remove, and transmute for the highest good any negativity that may now be present, any form of upset, disappointment, discouragement, any sadness, any pains of any kind, any limiting beliefs, any old stories we're telling ourselves, any blocks of any kind. We just know that by asking, you can and will lift that and create a space for something new, something better, for the light to come in. And we ask that that just happen now for each one of us with ease and grace. And into that new space, we ask that you infuse clarity so that each person here knows and feels their next right action in their business, with their clients, in their lives. We ask for clarity. We ask today for ease and grace, that all of this be so easy, like taking the next step forward. And we ask that you infuse this time also with light and joy, because we know that where lightness and joy is, learning happens. And we ask all of this today, or something better, for the highest good of all concerned. And so it is. And so it is. I just want to start with a check-in about one question you might have, and one success that you've had in coaching, whether that's it could just be something you learned, some awareness you had. So any question or concern or challenge, and one success. Who would like to start? Go ahead, Andre.
Hi, so happy to be here with everybody. One challenge that I'm having is like my wonderful coaching client that I just got that has a lot of, I mean, my ideal client is spiritual. I'm not sure that she's that. She has a lot of judgments, a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of like story. and is getting stuck a lot. And I've been using a lot of the basic skills and tools that I know to use, but I'm just, I'm really struggling with like how I can best serve her. And maybe she just needs to be with it for a while. Sorry, we have a kiddo in the background. But
Yeah.
one success is I feel like I'm so grateful to be a part of this group. And I'm feeling really excited about this next quarter for my business because I am putting together some pieces to launch a course, and this amazing virtual assistant that I've known from before. I worked with her sister, super communicator, amazing, kind, considerate, is like, oh, I'm now available. So if you need help. So that's a huge like win for me.
Beautiful. Congratulations. And there'll be an opportunity today to work on for us to address your challenge.
Okay, thanks.
It's going to specifically fit into the question I'm asking later today. So we'll get that handled for you. And by the way, that's true for everybody. We're going to work on whatever it is because I'm writing it down today. Who'd like to go next? Thank you, Anna. Rochelle, go ahead.
Hi guys, good morning. I would say a challenge is I have this one client that signed up for 4 months with me, and just from the beginning, she's kind of been really or the scheduling has been an issue. She's got 2 kids, so I've been trying to be as flexible as I can, and I have a deadline coming up, and so I have to keep reminding her, like she had to go on a work trip last week, and so I pretty much again was just like, hey, we need to schedule our last 2 sessions. Here are the dates I have available. And if not, like, I tried to say it kindly, but I have my maternity starting in 2 weeks, so she hasn't responded. So it's just kind of frustrating.
Okay.
And I want to I want to close our time together in a meaningful way too. But it kind of feels like she's had one foot in and one foot out a little bit with the work, and that's reflective of the scheduling challenges. And I would say a win is just continued breakthroughs for clients, just continued moments and texts and reflections back. I have one client who reminds me of my younger self when I came to see you, Vicki, and thought I came for one reason, but then I came for a whole other reason. And she had a whole breakup during this time together, and she's finally like finding herself again, and is and so it's just really special to just witness her come back to home to herself, and the journey that we've been on together.
Oh, I got chills on that one. Thank you. Nothing like watching a client come back home to themselves. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. All right, who'd like to go next?
Hi guys.
Okay, hi Barbara.
Yeah, I feel so excited to be here and grateful to be here as well. I don't have like a challenge specifically in my mind, other than more of the global challenge of it's already doing better since our session, Vicki, but the continuing to step into coaching and any self-limiting beliefs there. And I would say that's kind of just what's coming in my mind rather than a specific client challenge. And my win this week is the professionalism, and I shared this with you already, Vicki, the professionalism of talking to a potential new client and creating space. And I was with him yesterday, and he was like, well, can you give me a breath technique just right now? And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do that, but I am going to let you text me when you want to schedule our breathwork discovery session. And so really like keeping, yeah, so that, and I told you that Steve Chandler audio was awesome, the professional versus social self, and just really kind of defining those places. I love it. That's feeling really good.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. If I had $1 for every time I gave advice in a park or at a birthday party when I was a parenting expert, people were like, well, what do I do about this? And I just try to be helpful. And I just like totally merge my professional and social self. And it was always a mess. Those people almost never took my class.
No. Yeah.
Because I couldn't get anything meaningful to them
Yeah. I'm
at
like,
a birthday
so
party or at the
distracted.
park.
It's so distracting. I'm like, no.
Yeah. So I'm glad you all get to learn now. Great. Thank you, Barb.
I'll go.
Sure.
I think I actually had like kind of 2 challenges and 2 wins. I had so I decided to start my website, which is why I texted you all and asked you to send them, and thank you so much. It was very helpful. And then I got super resistant about it. And then I had a wonderful coaching session with Barbara where I was the client, and she helped me out a lot. And I did my photo shoot yesterday, and I reached out to a friend of mine who helped me with another website. And so I told myself it's got to be good for him to do everything by the end of next week. So that was a challenge and a win, which was really exciting. And then I had this woman that I talked with who is a coach, and she'd actually reached out to me not knowing I was doing this and saying that she was kind of having a hard time like gaining momentum in her life, and she doesn't have any clients, and she hasn't left her corporate job and all this stuff. And so I told her I started coaching, and she said, she's like, I really do need to work with a coach. I don't have one right now. She's like, maybe we should start working together. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I would love to do that. She's like, maybe we could barter and just coach each other. And I was like, oh, fuck. So I just went into people pleasing mode and was like, sure, sounds great. And bombed that. So but it was really validating to have someone who has been a coach for a while want to work with me in whatever capacity. So that was definitely a challenge and definitely a win.
Congratulations. Super short note about that. I never, ever, ever, it has never, ever, ever worked in my business to barter. I tried it only 20 plus years ago and never again. But because you're new, Shira, I would call it peer coaching. And then I think it would be valuable to you, but just call it something different. It's peer coaching, and that is very valuable, Shira, for where you are on your path. Super valuable. Call it peer coaching. Samira. Samira, unmute your beautiful self.
Hey guys. So I honestly just had to look back at my week to see what I did. I feel like the days are just like all melded into one. But I did a 3-part webinar this week prior to launching my group coaching program, like officially publicly next week. And Vicki and I had a really great call. So I had some really great learnings from it, but I felt like the people that joined were really engaged, and the whole point was to get people to book a one-on-one coaching call with me after. And so I have, I think, 5 calls next week with people. So I think that's great. It's a really good start. So that was really good. And the tools that you shared with me, Vicki, were really helpful. And I felt really like, I just felt really passionate about what I was sharing. And then I felt like I had the system and the structure in terms of like setting up the results that I wanted. So that was good. Another positive is I started to implement like the breaths and setting an intention at the beginning of the call. So that was really great, that's been really great as well. I think I shared with you guys, once people are done my 6-month coaching program, I always put them in a maintenance program, but that's like very loose. It's not super structured. It's kind of like, do you want to still meet twice a month? Do you want to meet once a month? What do you want to pay? Like, I keep it very loose. So I had a client sign on for a maintenance program. She kind of like wanted a little bit more structure from me. So it was like kind of the first time I think people, so I don't know. So maybe there's like room for improvement there. And then, so that was like both a high and a low. Another high is like, I feel like a lot of my clients are ending their stuff now, and it's all good. Like, it's always cyclical, but I'm like, oh, I probably like, in one hand, I'm like, yeah, I probably refer more clients. On the other hand, I'm like forgetting things. So when someone that I met on a flight, like a year and a half ago, messaged me and saying like, hey, long time no speak. I know I never followed up then, but I'm ready for a coach now. Can we set up a call? So I'm going to hopefully have a call with her this week. So just trusting, like, that whatever's kind of meant for you is coming for you, and you don't have to force anything. And then I hired a new assistant, but I actually hired two because I wasn't sure which one I wanted. So I'm feeling, I was talking about it with my mom. I think, especially when you're busy and you sort of have a system going in your business, which I did with my old assistant, who was really incredible, you're like kind of left a little vulnerable. I think, especially in the place where I'm at right now, where I have a lot going on this coming week, and it's not the most ideal week for her to have left. But I'm like, okay, cool. We're going to add a training on top of all of the other things. But I think it's going to be great. And I think the fact that I have two people that, at the end of the day, I'll either keep both of them on, or one of them will surpass the other one. I think I feel like supported because of that. So that's also like a plus and a challenge in a way. And then I think I shared with you guys last time that I'm part of a new cohort for this coaching and consulting company here. That was like totally a dream of mine when I first moved to LA. And there was the second training yesterday, which I thought was at 4 p.m., but it was actually at 9. So when I went on at 4, I was like, where is everyone? And I totally missed the training, and they didn't record it. So it's fine. It's not a big deal, but it is, because it's something that I really care about and want to show up for. And, so, and it's all about relationship building. So, I'm just giving myself grace that there's a lot going on. But yeah, I feel a bit bummed about that.
Infinite compassion to that, right? That's what we need and our clients need when we, make a mistake, or yeah. So much compassion to yourself. And I'm telling you, this Mercury retrograde is not a joke. It ends tomorrow. Then it takes, I guess, a few days to wind down, but oh, here comes the noise. Here. Hi. Here it comes. So all right. So yeah, and whatever questions you have, there will be ample time today for that. And do you all have your handouts? Because I really thought and sat down at my computer to record your discovery session. By the way, coaching tip. There's a coach who wrote a book called Time to Think. I referenced the book way back at our very beginning session, and she talked about this idea of murdering thoughts. I forget her, Nancy Klein. But she also talks about, if you're going to be a coach, that, and I'm getting better and better at this, that one of the best things you can do for your clients is put time on your calendar to think about them. And that was one of my big challenges when I last went to my last big coach training in April. That's one of the things I've been adding to. And so I had time to think for this session that I set aside, where I just sit in my living room, and it's absolutely magical. So it's another way to slow down, but also be super deliberate and intentional. And it's another way to allow spaciousness to happen, to invite the divine in, literally divine inspiration. So I'm on a tangent, but this is part of what I was going to share later. So when I had time to think for our group, which I absolutely love, I love time to think about this group. It was clear this is too important to just make a video on and put up. I need your interactions and your questions, because also so many of you have questions about this. And the discovery session is extremely important. It's the make or break for people becoming your client. So side note, but it's a big one, is time to think about your clients. And that's what my coaches challenged me to do, because they said, look, we already know you're a great coach. They've already referred people to me who've come back to them. And they're like, we think here, this is your next level, is scheduling time on your calendar, which actually kind of made me gulp, because my calendar is more full than it's ever been. And they're like, great, even more important reason to schedule time to think. So let's just go, I want to go quickly over so we can kind of have a continuity, the coaching discovery session format. And feel free to pop in if you have a question or want clarification, because this is so more, I hope you guys can hear that. This is, I hope not, everything's closed. So number one, say hello and establish rapport. Keep this short, right? We did that. Take leadership, right? Here's what's going to happen today, right? Here's what we're going to do today, whatever your words and your versions are. Your homework was to go write this up in your words. I cannot state enough how important that is, especially for those of you who are newer or are challenged in this discovery session, feeling awkward or judging yourself, or you just don't have practice. And then have your a potential client set an intention. What would you like to most have happen by the end of our time? What would you like to leave here feeling and or thinking, right? And again, this and every step offers an opportunity to coach. Every step. Visualization, invite them to close their eyelids, take a few deep breaths, get centered, slow them down. Allow plenty of time. What do you want to have happen? This can be very emotional for people, but is extremely powerful. I did this with a client this week. Every single statement she said was, well, I want to be in a relationship. I want to be this. And so very gently on every statement I said, stated in the present tense. By the time she got to like seventh or eighth one, there were tears, right? Because we don't want this to be like, oh, I want this. I want a car, and I want to double my income, and I want to move to Maui, and I want, we really want them connected to this and stating it in. I think it's rare that I have to do that many times, but very gently interrupting, state it in the I am. By the way, even having nothing to do with spiritual practices, this is proven to be effective just from regular psychological research, that whatever, my trainer was sharing this with me this week. She said she hosts a retreat out in Canyon Ranch, and takes eight clients every year. And she said, I had everyone do a visualization. Oh, she said, I attended a workshop where they had everyone do a visualization of 1 year from now, 5 years, and 10 years. And she said, one of my people who I brought was having very severe foot problems. And she said in her visualization, in 10 years, I will be in a wheelchair. And she said, Vicki, she's in a wheelchair. I said, well, yes. She said, well, yeah. And the person presenting was saying that, what happens is when we state what we want, if these people never saw you again, you are so deeply serving them to slow them down and activate what they want, because it plants a seed in their consciousness that sends them on a path where they start making choices that would support that. So this visualization is, if all they came and got that was for you, is extraordinarily powerful. I've also had sometimes people come back to me, they'll do a discovery session. It's not their time to work with me right now. Well, this happens often in my business where people come back. The longest it's ever been is 2 years, but they'll come back 6 months later, 9 months later, Samira, you were saying someone on the plane. So something you said and something about you stuck with them. And I guarantee you that has been working in their consciousness the whole time. And people come back to me and they'll say, well, remember when you said this? Of course, I can't, I can't remember everything I say in a session, but it's often has to do with the visualization. It really does activate. So it's not just like, oh, it's a spiritual woo-woo thing that all the spiritual people do. It's there's science, because we start making choices and behaving in micro ways that will support whatever we've slowed down and gotten intentional about. So identify their challenges. What are currently your biggest challenges? What's in the way, the biggest obstacles in the way of you getting what you want? And again, every step is an opportunity to acknowledge feelings. I really hear you, right? All the stuff we talked about in that session about seems like you're sad, seems like you're excited, right? Identify their opportunities. What are your biggest opportunities for growth and your strengths? What about you makes this more possible? This really is, this is, you can see people shift sometime in this one. It's just like, yeah, I have these challenges, but let me remember who I am too, right? We don't want to keep it in the land of, oh, this is bad and this is bad and that's bad. So it's almost like a forced, like, tell me the good stuff about you. Tell me who you are also. Then confirm alignment to work together. What are your takeaways today? As I like to ask, what, Samara, I loved yours. I added yours. What was most valuable for you? I love that word, valuable. So something along the lines, that this is all I need to know we're fit to work together. Would you like to hear what it'd be like to work with me? This is what I did more early in my career. I think I've told you my schedule is so full at this point. I do a lot more leaning back. I don't think one way is better than another. I used to just pitch if I felt the resonance. Now, because my schedule is really full and I'm really detached if they become my client, because I'm trying to figure out how to handle I have a wonderful new challenge in my business, that being how to fit this all together and continue to have plenty of spaciousness. So I lean way back, and tell them to ask me, but there's no right or wrong way. Do what resonates for you. And then one of my favorite phrases, here's how it works. Like you're saying the news, right? Like you're a broadcaster just saying the news. The high in Los Angeles today is going to be 78 with that tone of voice. My clients work with me, and some of you I've worked with your packages on, right? Practice saying those packages over and over to your spouse, to your friends, to yourself in the mirror. Really important to get this in you. Those of us who have been coaching for a while, it's so in, we have a groove and it's there. We don't need a script, but for years I needed a script, because for one thing is I would get new information, I would change my script, but so it'll come to you very naturally over time. But especially before your first or second discovery session or your next one, have what you're going to say really rehearsed and familiar to you. After yes, or if they say, great, this sounds wonderful, what do we do next, right? Well, let me slow this down a moment, right? This is where we slow down. What, if anything, would get in the way of you making this commitment? If people are on fire, I may not ask that question. If you had any resistance or lack of commitment, then coach them. If it's a strong, clear yes, then your answer is, we schedule our first session. And sometimes the resistance will come up as I'm scheduling their first session, right? And I don't know if I've done this this diagram here, but I'm thinking of you, Shira, because we are all have so much in common, of course, with our clients. Have I done this drawing here? Comfort zone, right? So we all of us, have our little comfort zones that we live in every day. It's we have our routine and we have our things that we do. And this is for us and our clients. This is just one of my favorite diagrams. have it on slides when I teach classes. What we want is outside of that. So let's talk about the ego. Right. A lot, especially in the coaching world, there's a lot of talk out there like, oh, the ego is bad. We've got to get rid of our ego. And spiritual psychology doesn't see it that way, and I don't see it that way. The ego is that part of ourself that is trying hard to maintain homeostasis. The ego wants homeostasis is inside the box, in our comfort zone, right? In the pandemic, it was in our pajamas. I did a couple of coaching sessions in my pajama bottoms, and I was like, I literally can't do this. Like, it just sends a mind, yeah, it sends a message to your brain. Like, I just, it was too weird. And so we got, we all got comfortable about, we all get comfortable about everything, our relationships, our body, our daily habits. But what we want is outside of that, but our ego has a limited awareness of what's good for us. And so even when something's healthy, like let's just say going to the gym and working out, right? So I had 2 injuries happen during the pandemic, which had some significant cost to my body. One was my back, and I had frozen shoulder then right after that. So I was not able to work out for many, many, many months, which has never happened to me in my life on the planet. And so there were consequences, shall we say. And so it's just like, wow, getting over that inertia, I had to hire a trainer, right? That's why people need you, is they need us to get out of that comfort zone. But the moment we take a move out of that comfort zone, alarm bells are going off in the ego. Oh my gosh, she's out of her pajamas. Oh my goodness, she's off the couch. and share us of the website, just, we want to just be aware, right? Whenever we stretch outside of that, that's where the growth is, but that's where the ego freaks out. So sometimes just being able to name it is super helpful. Just like, oh, that's the ego, and here's my higher self. So I'm going to send you in the mail. I was hoping to hand a bunch of these to you, but you're all going to get in the mail. This is the book called Loyalty to Your Soul. It's written by my spiritual psychology professors. Aren't they cute? Don't they have fantastic energy? Doctors Ron and Mary Holnick. And they talk about the ego here in a really beautiful, practical way. And not only, so this is, I'm going to give you your introduction to spiritual psychology, because there's powerful tools in here to use with your clients. Andre, I know you probably have this book, but you'll just have it to hand to a client because you will want to do that at some point. So I won't sign yours. So in here is a lot more about ego, and in there is also a lot more about those principles of spiritual psychology that absolutely transform my life and that are simple for you to learn and use to change your life and to use with your clients. So I'm going to go into a little bit of some spiritual psychology tools, but I'm going to give you the textbook. So I love this diagram for working with clients, because sometimes when you pick up the phone to schedule the session, right, Rochelle, is what I suspect is going on with your client, their issues come up around scheduling. And, however they are in any aspect of their life is how they are in every aspect. I'm sure that's not new to all of you, but scheduling is a big place, just so you are aware, where their issues show up and show themselves. Yeah, go ahead.
Question, do you, on this call, when you schedule the session, at what point do you send your invoice first? Or
After.
you schedule on the phone, and then right after you send it?
Immediately. Half-life. Here we go. We're coming right up. You're leading us right into the next thing. So I just paused here, especially because you brought up, Rochelle, scheduling can trigger this, because it's an affirmation that I'm going to change. And the ego is like, oh, no. And I have more than one millennial, like under age 30 client who's extremely successful, they created their own businesses, not inherited. So it's a very different mindset from inherited money. And they just try to work me on the whole scheduling. I mean, they're just so used to getting and so being so empowered in the world and doing what they want. And it's just like, yeah, no, coaching is like, I'll come out from Paul and I'll be like sweating. He's like, what's going on? I'm like trying to schedule my millennial CEOs, they're just like, because it does take a bit of a renegade spirit to be that successful, that smart, and that young, and they're just trying to always like wrangle the whole deal, and I have to kind of slow them down sometimes. I mean, sometimes I just let it go because it's just so deep in them, and it's so different than my good girl personality persona that I'm trying to break out of. Like I attract these clients that are like other end of the can. It's like, I break all the rules, I do it my way. And I'm like, I love that about you. I absolutely love that about you. And we do have this thing called time and space that we live in, right? And so anyway, just a little side note about scheduling.
Well,
So
Vicky, you're clearly stepping more into that if you're attracting more clients like that.
oh, thank you. Okay. You're right. Well, it's definitely one of my intentions for sure. It's just I've been on a wildness trajectory since getting divorced for sure. To thank you for that. I accept. I love them. They are so. I love them. Well, I'm so blessed. I really love all my clients, and 95%. And so thank you for that. I accept. Love it. Something about turning 60 just really unplugs something. My mom warned me about it. It's like, great. So then payment, Rochelle. So whether it's right there, I used to just sit here and have a thing and swipe a credit card or take a check. Remember checks? Or I immediately, right? Big truth. There's a half-life of enthusiasm. So, as quickly as possible. This is one reason I schedule spaciousness between my clients, is to do stuff like this, so that if I want to send them something, or while I'm thinking of, or an article or something, we respond immediately. I'm not fussy about when they pay, but I'm very particular. I mean, definitely before our first session, that's totally your choice, but I definitely get the invoice out. Yeah, go ahead, Samara.
Is there a reason that you send the invoice after as opposed to collecting payment on the call? Is that like on purpose, or it's just how you do it?
I don't have a strong preference either way. I don't have people who have, it's extremely rare, almost never that I can think of, that I am so sure that they're committed. Yeah. I used to, I think, probably have honestly more fear that, oh, if I don't get it now, I think, so I would take it often in the office because we were face to face. Yeah, I don't have any preference about that. I don't think it matters. It's just what works for your business. I think it's great to take payment right there. I just don't. And I have in the past, absolutely have in the past.
Cool.
You just be clear so you're not one bit squirrely. Each of you get really clear. Here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to send you an invoice. I can take your credit card payment now. Just you get clear on your thing you're going to say. Don't offer people more than 2 options for anything. The brain can only really process 2 options. It's like, you can give me a credit card or a check. You can pay me now, or I can send you an invoice. Don't get into a big, long conversation about this. And sometimes people's anxiety will come up, like, oh, I have this credit card, and then I have a debit, and then I have this, but I don't know if it's shop, it's shop. Like, slow. Then you gotta be the carrot, K-A-R-E-T, that slows that down. Okay, so we stopped here last time. Take payment and handle objections. So common and really legitimate objections.
Vicky, question. Sorry.
Sorry, Michelle. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, just a quick question. I'm curious, what payment method do you use? What have you found in the past few years that has been the best percentage wise, all of that.
Yeah. I don't get super wigged out about that, but I use Square Up, which is I have had PayPal, a client paid in PayPal. She made a mistake, $6,000. They never gave me the money. So I am,
No PayPal.
I do have one foreign client and he's just like, PayPal is all the only American thing I have. So I did take it and I immediately took the money out. So I'll just tell you that PayPal has got some pretty nasty policies, very unfriendly to business owners. So gosh, I didn't ever think I'd give a negative thing, but I never got the $6,000.
Oh, sorry.
Even though the client made a mistake.
Right.
She saw the thing and she said, oh, I didn't pay for that. She forgot. Yeah. And she was a little bit too many mental health really issues for me to work on. So it's like, if I look back and say really honestly, the writing was on the wall about her being a little bit too far out there for me to work with. So
yeah.
Stripe, very trustworthy. I use Stripe for all my courses.
I love Stripe. I use it. It's awesome.
What about Venmo too?
I do not love Venmo. I'll tell you why. You can in a pinch I'll use it. Venmo, here's the thing. You don't have a lot of legal protection if there's ever an issue. Venmo's really was, I don't know if they've changed things, but for example, I used to be a realtor, some of you know, and my daughter is like, I want to pay, I pay my landlord in Venmo. And Venmo is not a legally recognized form of payment. So never pay your rent or anything that's tied to a legal agreement on Venmo. I'm a realtor. So my training's real estate. So I have that whole real estate finance brain. And so there was a whole scam going on in Colorado where landlords were saying, I didn't receive payment when they had paid them on Venmo. So, you can, I think they've made it more business. Isn't that right?
You get to keep all your money, which is kind of why it's been very easy. That's what I've been mainly using. I give them two options, but most people easily use Venmo, and then there's no fee.
There's no fee.
But no fee, but also if you want to do like a recurring payment with a client, you put them on a payment plan, it's just like automatic. And I don't know, the way I look at it, and sorry to jump in, it's like the cost of doing business, and it takes like less bandwidth for you to then need to like pay them or like send the invite and follow up. And like, you want to set up your business in a way that like it can scale, right? So let's say you have 10 clients now. What happens when you have 20? It's like more to manage. So you want to have systems in place now that like are going to benefit you in the long run,
If there's ever a legal issue, you don't have Venmo is Visa. When people use a Visa and MasterCard and you have a legal issue, they will back you up and listen to your side of the story, listen to the client side of the story, and hopefully you never get there. I think it's, I don't, it definitely is not got the same protections for you. And for me, if anyone's ever unhappy, I'll just refund. I mean, I don't know if I've ever, maybe one time, maybe once, or never. I can't remember. I am fast to refund people. That's just my policy. I'm not going to get all in there and be like, well, we already had a session, and I don't know. It's like, if anyone's unhappy, it's only ever happened on one of my courses, and it was only one time, and it had nothing to do with me or the course, maybe twice. I'm very quick to refund. I don't want to get in there, and if someone's unhappy, and I just don't want to have any of that. I'd rather just take the loss and move on. So yeah, definitely Venmo, you might want to look into it, is not going to protect you. And I do agree, Rochelle, you're going to grow. You're going to grow. So maybe not right this minute, not while you're going through a massive life transition, but I like you to think about it. It does, it also communicates more professionality to get an invoice. It does, people, everything we do sends a message. And you're young, so people your age are using, compared to me, they're using Venmo. Nothing wrong with it. And I would like you to think about, the scaling, the professionality, and if there's any issues, which I hope you never have. I've had very few financial issues with coaching, very, very, very few. So these are all good questions. So you see why I didn't want to just record this, slap it up, because this is really important. So if people say, I need to think about it, what goes in there before that exclamation mark is agree. Absolutely agree. Yeah, I hear you. We definitely don't want to get like, well, what is it that you need to think about? We do not want to question them when it comes to finances, but we still want to stand firm. So it is a big commitment. A lot of people have their money pooled with, I don't understand those people, their spouses, just kidding. But my husband and I, my first husband and I, we pooled everything. And I learned from several different financial people a different way to set up finances. Well, Paul's got his income and his money and his children to inherit. And so we're very separate because of previous marriages. But a lot of people, they share a bank account with their partner and they share big financial decisions with their partner. So that is probably the most legitimate reason I can think of. It's like they've got to ask someone, or some people just need to think about it. I will tell you this, they rarely are thinking about it though, but we still want to agree with them. It's a big commitment. Then from a place of neutrality, and curiosity, can ask you a question about that. What are you going to think about? Sorry, that should be a question mark at the end of that. I do want to know a little bit about it. I want to, so I've already agreed. And when in sales, it's just service too. It's service and sales. We want to agree with their objections. And it serves them, and you've got to be neutral. If you're not neutral, this will not work. So if you can't get yourself to neutral, which I think was definitely much harder for me in the beginning of this, I wouldn't ask the question. I would just say, I hear you. Sometimes if I felt like, Samira, I've been in that place where kind of like all my coaching agreements came to an end and almost none of them renewed. And you're just like, where's this going to come from? And it's easy to slip into fear. And then when I would be in those places was when it was harder for me to be neutral, because I'm a human being.
I have a question about that. Do you find when people say they're going to think about it, like what percentage of people actually come back and sign up? Because I've only ever had, I think, like one person, maybe two, after they said they were going to think about it, come back and actually sign up.
It's a different, I worked with couples, so it's a different dynamic when it's a couple. I'd say definitely for couples, a very high percentage come back and sign up. Because that's a really understandable dynamic, right? They're going to go and talk about it and see, how did you feel about it? How did you feel about it? So let me think then about individuals. I can't think. I mean, I think it hasn't happened for such a long time. Let me think about it. Let me look at my list of current clients. I'm going to think about this. Nope. No. In my current list of clients, no one, I don't think, said I'm going to think about it. They were yeses or they were nos. So I just haven't had it in a really long time. I guess, it's probably a fairly high percentage with the individuals that don't. And that's okay. I mean, that's okay. It's some people are not ready. They're not ready. And remember, we didn't want to, right? We talked about don't collapse. I skipped ahead, right? We already talked about this last time. We don't want to collapse the two questions they're asking in their mind do I want to change with do I want to work with you? So many people are not ready to change. I made a pretty significant coaching mistake that unfolded yesterday. I haven't made kind of a really big one in a while, but I'm going to tell you what it is. I have one of these super successful CEO guys met someone at a seminar and overheard her boyfriend talking to her in a pretty negative way after like 3 or 4 days into this seminar. And he is like, you can't, that's not okay, you know, and had some kind of conversations with her, I forget what, and offered to pay for her to come to see me for a session. One of the worst sessions I've had in a really long time. Anyone guess why? Go ahead, Rochelle.
It wasn't her idea. It wasn't her choice. She didn't seek you out.
Yeah. And she wanted to come. She kept texting me, we're on, I'm confirming. Did he pay for it? Blah, blah, blah. I know better, but I like him so much, and she is sadly, it seems to be she's with a narcissist, because he called me to talk to me about her. This is now a month ago. I sent him my favorite lady on YouTube that's got all the videos on narcissistic abuse. And I said, wow, that sounds like narcissistic abuse. He goes, like, how do you know that? And I'm like, you're literally spitting things straight out of a textbook. And I said, I really don't. So my first intuition was right. I said, I don't work with that. That's not the kind of relationship stuff I get into. I have no recollection almost ever in my coaching career of someone leaving my house angry. And those of you who've been to my house, slamming my big wood gate. And so I made a mistake, right? And it with the best intentions of wanting to help, but when someone is not paying, and actually the thing she got mad at me about was that I told her I was not a match. She wanted to work with me, but she didn't want to leave the guy. And I just, the guy's been physical with her, as it turns out. Right. This is just not my thing. I guess what? We all get to do what we want to do. And maybe you love that. Maybe your specialty is going to be women in relationships who are being actively abused by a narcissist. But kudos to you. There are, some of you work in addiction and the people who are in the middle of eating disorders. I bow down and I refer people to, that's not my thing. So we all need to know our thing. And so and she even said her trigger was she felt rejected. But I kept saying to her, are you willing to leave? Like, because she's like, yeah, it is. It's narcissistic abuse. So don't let someone pay for someone else's session. Don't do it. Don't do it, Barbara.
First, I want to say that still sounds like a successful session to me. And I just want to.
It could have been, yeah, because I was intent to serve. Thank you. So it could have been a big wake-up call.
Triggers can be, right? That's a part of someone's healing journey. But also, so in that moment when he said, I want to pay for did you think, well, I can offer her a discovery session? Or like, did you just kind of move right from, I'm just wondering about that part of your brain process.
Well, one whole part of this was she was at that time in some area of the world. She's an international traveling person that she could not reach out, because so whatever the thing they were that had the place they were that had no service, he had left the place, but she was still there. So it was a weird, because always we have conversations. That was honestly my biggest mistake, was not having a conversation.
That's more what I meant, like in your process, which seems, or I know is so clear that you were forewent the conversation or the discovery?
Yes. So, right. So that he was like, I'm reaching out because she's not going to have self-service for like another 4 or 5 days. She had an international number. She couldn't text me. It had to all be on WhatsApp. So it was just all kind of weird. And this is so Mercury retrograde, people. This is like, just the communication and this and this, the wires get crossed. So honestly, I just had to forgive myself. But my daughter was not feeling well. So she was over here last night. And the woman actually went to my front door and sat in my side gate, for those of you who've been here. And so my daughter answered the door sick, got up off the couch sick. She's got a sinus infection and went to the door. And I came out, I walked into the living room. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I need to dance. So I'm going to go in my office and I need to sage the whole thing back there. And Brianna's like, she's like, she had really bad energy, and she's so cute and had this big smile and everything. But so several mistakes. There was no conversation. So I need to talk to someone. Possibly, I guess I've had people pay for other people's sessions, but I've had a conversation for them to say, I really, really want to do this. Like I've had a client pay for their mom, and I'm just like, I don't know about that. Let me talk to your mom, and she paid for her mom and it's worked out beautifully. And the mom was like, I don't know if I want to do this. I said, I'll tell you what, you can quit at any point, and I will refund your daughter, no questions asked, but she's gotten something actually quite significant out of each of our sessions. We only meet every 3 weeks. That's what she wants. And it totally works so I didn't have a conversation with her. That's a big one. I knew there was narcissistic abuse, or it sure did sound like it. That's not a match for me. Yeah. And so it's like the paying is almost the last of all the things. So yeah, thank you. I just slowed down and processed that with you. But again, it's just, I hardly ever do that. And she said to me, at the end, she's like, well, this was a complete waste of my time. And I've literally never heard that. But the thing is, who is she angry at?
Herself.
People who are that mad are and she even said, you're rejecting me. You're rejecting me. And this was a waste of time. And I said, was it? I mean, I was really like asking questions. I mean, I'm so detached by that point. And I said, was it? And she said, no, she caught herself. She said, no, it actually wasn't. I don't want to spend too much time on this goofy thing. But I said, I hope that I've served you by shining a light on something that you have not been fully able. And she did see it. She was able to see it. So I'm literally talking to God, like during the session, like, God, please help me. God, please help me. Give me the words. This person is, to live with to be getting physically hurt by a narcissist. Oh, by the way, they're spiritual teachers. I guess that was my other, yeah. They're from another country, which I shall not name, but they are Instagram influencers in their country. So so look, I guess I'm not going to call it a mistake, because she said to me, I go to therapists and I can't hear them because they're not spiritual. You are spiritual. So you know what? It was all perfect. And I'm completely happy to have spent that time with her. And I don't recommend this.
It's so helpful when you share these stories and just, shine a light on that we're all going to have, no matter how long our career is, that there's going to be these moments of learning and unlearning. So I really appreciate your vulnerability and just sharing
Thank
this.
you. That's what I said. Maybe I'm supposed to tell my clients, don't do this. And that's why I had it. She was here yesterday. So guess what? I had this Tools of Spiritual Psychology. My favorite out of that book is called Compassionate Self-Forgiveness. And in there is the whole process about how to do that. And so what Brianna remarked, she's like, Mom, you have really grown. She's like, if this happened 10 years ago, you'd have been a wreck. It'd have ruined your dinner. You'd have been very upset. You'd probably be upset the next day. So my kid, my 31-year-old kid, is just like, wow, you're handling this really well. And I'm like, I do trust God more, which we're going to talk about more today. I trust God more. Okay.
Can I
On
ask
that,
a question though?
yes.
Before we conclude. It's just like a more of a general question. So I've heard like differing information. Would you ever during a discovery session go through processing something with someone? Or do you solely stick to, I'm going to stick to the script, I'm going to ask these powerful questions, gather the information. I'm not really here to like get into the coaching skills because it's like a new, it's like your first time really.
No. We give them an experience of coaching. So maybe I haven't made that clear, I guess. And what I'm saying is that we want to coach all through this and at any point. So I'm sorry if I haven't made that clear.
No, you have. It's just I've taken other programs before and they make it very clear. Stick to the script, follow the script, don't deviate from the script. You're here to like gather the information and they can get clarity on like what their thing is and if you can solve the problem. But you never actually get into like self-forgiveness or prizing or any of that other stuff, you know?
I do. So I know there are different schools of thought, and I do not believe that one is unequivocally better than the other. I have very strong feelings about doing long sessions. That's the one thing I have really strong feelings about and come from that school of thought. Do I think people can run their business with 30-minute discovery sessions? They certainly do. So of course they can. So, oh, cutie pie. Can we introduce him, Samara? And so I'm coaching all through, and I absolutely coach. So up here in the beginning, clarity, the end of our session. Yeah, I see my mistake with typing this all up is I don't really have that here. But I absolutely coach because the whole thing is to give them an experience of working with me. Absolutely. And sometimes it's not very much, like Andre, sometimes I'll take people through a 7-minute compassionate self-forgiveness process.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not really conscious about it. I think sometimes I can coat this kind of boilerplate stuff is 15 minutes and I'm coaching for the remainder of the time. And sometimes this, just because of the things that come up during all the steps, is 90% of the session. And I just do one thing about stopping and going through their limiting beliefs, one or section on compassionate self-forgiveness. But no, I want to be whatever comes up ready. And I want to, my philosophy is to give them an experience of my coaching. And again, I'm here to say there's more than one theory. I would imagine the people that do that, those are the shorter sessions.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. There really truly is no one right way. And I'm telling you my preferences. All right, let's meet Oliver. Oh, and then we're going to take a break. Let's take a 5-minute dance break. Can we, Samara, would you like
Oliver just woke up, so he's a little cranky and he's eating. So I'll try and pull the bottle away from him, but he
Oh,
probably
no, you don't have to do that.
Say hi. Say hi.
Okay,
4
okay.
months old. Good time for a break. So,
I cannot believe you have a 4-month-old and you are doing all that you're doing. Like I'm totally.
Same. I know it's been that's why I'm forgetting things, but compassion and grace.